Welcome home. Like and subscribe.
We'll never see that lubber again. You're terrible.
Isn't it so crazy to see Mr. Krabs and Squidward having inside jokes and being friendly or having rapport? I have grown up on SpongeBob, but I have watched it very randomly, so I wanted to see if it was at least good from episode 1. And I was very wrong. It was nearly perfect. It set quite an amazing stage for what was to come. Episode 1 is titled Help Wanted. It starts with a theme song, which has now become a cultural staple. After the title and credits, realistic cutouts of Koro separate to reveal the now iconic Bikini Bottom skyline and a close-up of these three houses, all being introduced by this iconic voice.
1 minute later.
In this first scene, we see that there is an emphasis on the fact that this takes place under the sea. From the reflections of moving water to the bubbles coming out of the chimneys, these are details that we no longer see in future episodes. Inside the pineapple, an annoyingly loud ship horn turned alarm goes off and we get the first glimpse of our star. This morning sequence gives us a perfect intro into SpongeBob's personality. From how he wakes up completely unbothered by the sound with a blank smile, to how he addresses his excitement about the day to his pet snail Gary with excessive enthusiasm, to how he dives into his square pants, a not so subtle reference to his name, to how it takes all his might to deadlift 2 teddy bears, and to how he walks out of the house singing this.
I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready.
Who knew they hit the ground running with these memeable moments? Just from that, we get the picture that he is uncomfortably optimistic, excessively naive, and not the brightest being. Which is the perfect time to introduce a character that's even dumber to complement the lead, his bestie, Patrick.
Go SpongeBob!
After all that, we finally get to see what he's so ready for. It's the Krusty Krab. In his opinion, the finest eating establishment ever established for eating, with the help wanted sign on the window. He wants to apply for the job, but as soon as he gets here, he loses confidence. So just as he is about to back out, he gets a partly dim-witted but heavily enthusiastic pep talk from his bestie and goes for it. Then we get a fitting intro of Squidward, looking as depressed as always and erasing graffiti of his face with the word loser at the top. At the sight of SpongeBob approaching, his mood worsens, wondering what he wants, then panics when he sees the help wanted sign. Before he can warn Mr. Krabs, SpongeBob bursts through the doors, then trips and makes a clumsy entrance. When Mr. Krabs sees this, he's not so sure about giving him the job, so in naive SpongeBob fashion, he assures that he is capable and that Squidward can vouch for him. Unsurprisingly, Squidward takes Mr. Krabs a few paces away and tells him, no. Mr. Krabs then winks in agreement. They come back to SpongeBob, and Mr. Krabs tells him he is giving him a test to test if he is worthy, but instead sends him on a wild goose chase to find a hydrodynamic spatula, emphasizing he shouldn't come back until he gets one. After SpongeBob leaves and they are laughing it up, they are bombarded by 5 buses of hungry anchovy customers. Squidward tries to shame them into forming a nice civilized single file, but instead they get ticked off and become uncontrollable. But just then, SpongeBob comes in from the ceiling as they're saving grace, spatula in hand, being used as a propeller. He flies into the kitchen and pulls off a miracle by feeding all the anchovies in record time. This makes Mr. Krabs a boatload of money, and so he hands him his employee name tag immediately. Squiddy tries to protest, but Mr. Krabs makes him cheer for SpongeBob instead, and locks himself in his office to count his profits. A perfect reflection of Mr. Krabs. Money comes before everything, even his good relationship with his employee. Patrick then walks in, orders 1 Krabby Patty, and SpongeBob jumps into the kitchen, churning out more than necessary, while creating a huge mess. And we slowly zoom out as Squiddy is shouting for Mr. Krabs to enforce disciplinary action on his new employee. Episode 1 was almost perfect in every way because it set a good base to build on. It was fast-paced and quite engaging, but also gave us great character development of the pivotal characters. We got a little bit of everything, from the city skyline to their neighborhood arrangement, that piques our interest in terms of how much drama can unfold, to the iconic scenes, to the Krusty Krab working environment, to the relationships and dynamics, to the sense of humor, and to the mean, inconsiderate side characters we love. It provides the foundational origin for the only continuity necessary throughout the entire show. In my opinion, chef's kiss. Like and subscribe.